Marvel Comics in the 90s. How could we forget? Big hair, huge muscles, big boobs, and gigantic guns. The era where we had 30 Spider-Man and X-Men titles. Marvel had plenty of gimmicks, but man did I love it when I was a kid. Welcome to the marvelous 90s. Hey Frontline fans, welcome back to Comic Frontline, and guys, you're back with me, Mike Spider Slayer, getting ready to do episode number 3 of Marvelous 90s. Now guys, if you're not familiar with this series, this is the show where I talk about Marvel Comics from the 90s. And the first few episodes are dedicated to my Frontline team members. The first one was dedicated to Brant Fowler with the New Warriors. The second one was dedicated to Mike Rock 18 as we talked about X Factor. Now this one, Jay, this one's for you. And I know you're a huge Avengers fan, and so I decided to do the issue number 1 of the Avengers Volume 2 that took place in November of 1996. This was during the Heroes Reborn thing. This was a time where Marvel was in desperate need for sales, and they restarted some of their some of the iconic books like Avengers, Fantastic Four, Captain America, Iron Man, to try to get new readers on board. And they threw some of the biggest artists and writers on there, like Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld at the time, Jim Valentino, all these people. They threw them on there, and they said, you guys are going to love it because we're the best people in Marvel right now. Did that stay true? Absolutely not. It was a complete bust, a failure. Jim Lee left. Rob Liefeld was fired. It just all went down the shitter. And it was crazy because the sales weren't there, and Marvel just got worse and worse down the toilet. And they were trying to save themselves, and it just did not work. So, let's talk about this crazy issue number 1, volume 2 from the Avengers. And basically, it's a start over. You know, Franklin Richards is the one that created like this micro universe, so everything, there's no continuity thing. It's just everything is different. People are meeting each other for this, whatever. It's crazy. But let's start it. So the first thing starts off in the Avengers issue number 1 is that you have Loki, who's awakened the Thunder. That's the name of the title. And you got this crazy artwork. Everyone is like huge and muscular and big, and they got big teeth, and they're like, oh, I'm so strong. I'm something huge. I'm gonna crush you with my bare hand. Everyone's so big. Even the girls, like Scarlet Witch in this book, is just like a man. She's like a big muscle bodybuilder. You know, it's insane. So Loki is looking for Thor, because he realizes that there's no way to Asgard. The Rainbow Bridge is destroyed. He blames Thor for it, and he winds up finding Thor in this like amber ice or whatever it is, and he realizes that it's him. And he tries to destroy him, but he can't do it. He's not strong enough. And so we get this guy by the name of Dr. Blake who comes across Thor, and they said that they need the Avengers to come and study things and find out what's going on. So what Loki does is he goes and he sits there and he wants to spy on these Avengers and find out who they are, on how they're going to free Thor. So we get this introduction to what Avengers is in this new universe, and it's not just like Avengers Tower, it's Avengers Island, and it's all funded by Tony Stark, and it's this huge complex. It's just insane. And as the book goes along, you get introduced to the characters in here. And now this is funny because this is my 3rd team book in a row that I'm doing that has to do with this series, and I've always said it, you know, you get overwhelmed by dialogue, or, you know, oversaturated with like characters in the book, and I felt like this one did have that. But anyway, you get introduced to Scarlet Witch in this book, and you wind up finding out that she has like this mentor, Agatha, and she's the one that's been training her. So, and you get to see Loki in spirit here of seeing all the different Avengers. So this is like your way going, you know, seeing it through Loki's eyes, on him spying on this Avenger Island and all the Avengers that are currently on this team. The next one you get introduced to, is Scarlet Witch, is the Swordsman, which I thought was kind of funny, because I think he's an X-Men character, or a X-Force character. I'm not too familiar with him, but it's funny, I like invented a swordsman character back in 1995, and I didn't know one really exists. So you get to see him in the book. And then you get to see Patsy Walker, Hellcat, in this book, and she's drawn like Wolfsbane back in X Factor. I thought it's funny, or X Force, or whatever book that she was in. So she's all wolf-like, and then you get to see Vision in here as well, as you get to see how he's this synthesoid robot and whatnot. And then you get introduced to everyone's favorite in here, which is Captain America. And Captain America is so freaking beefcake in this book. It's so hilarious, and you get to see him like doing all these acrobats, and he's doing all this fight, you know, all this training. And then we get to see, you know, what goes on in his world and whatnot. It's just so hilarious. Nick Fury's in here. He's all beefcaked up. He's got the eye patch. This is the white Nick Fury, and he's got the cigarette hanging from his mouth. It's hysterical. Hawkeye is left as a mystery in this book. You don't know who he is, if it's Clint or not. They're never said his real name, and we get to see that, you know, how actually the Avengers are funded in here and whatnot. So there's a lot of different little details that go in, and you're like, holy crap, there's so much in this book. There's bound to, you know, there's things that are bound to get missed and lost in this like new continuity or whatnot, because they just throw everything at you in this book, and you're just like, you're looking back and you're trying to figure out how things piece together, and it's crazy. So they give him this mission that Thor is stuck in this amber, this like type of amber, and they have to rescue her. And they're like, "Oh, okay, let's go on this mission." And it's insane. You wind up meeting everybody. You wind up meeting Hank Pym. You wind up meeting Janet in this book, and you don't really know who's on the Avengers, but until they say Avengers Assemble, because they threw all these characters in there, and you find out that the true Avenger team looks like it's Captain America, the Swordsman, Hawkeye, Hellcat, and Vision. Those are the way they look, and when they're actually, you know, assembled together. And you get to see Captain America meet up with Dr. Blake, and they're like, "Oh, we come across this hammer, and we don't know who it belongs to." Well, gee, isn't it the big freaking god that's stuck in this amber ice? Don't you think you know who he is? You know, it's just so funny, like, how they're so clueless. And so Captain America and Vision and Scarlet Witch and Swordsman, they all break this amber, and they free Thor. And he's like, "Oh, it feels so good to be free." And they show this, like, big 2-page spread that you have to turn upside down to see it. And he's like, "Oh, the breath of fresh air." And he's like, you think he's all vitalized, you know, and whatnot. And then, like, in the very next page, he's like, "Oh, I'm weak. I can't remember anything." It's just like, it didn't make any sense. So Loki, he finally takes the advantage after spying all this time, and he winds up, you know, manipulating Thor, saying, "These are the people that stuck you in this ice. They're a bunch of liars," and blah, blah, blah. And at first, Thor believes in him because it's his brother and whatnot. But then after some convincing and some fighting and whatnot, we wind up finding out that, yes, of course, Thor is going to side with the Avengers. And he realizes that, you know, Loki is the bad person. He remembers now once he gets the hold of Mjolnir. And what happens is he sends Loki back to, I don't know, some, I guess, different dimension, or Midgard or Asgard, or wherever he goes. I don't know. He just winds up on the floor somewhere, and the next thing you wind up seeing is Enchantress comes across him, and she's like this smoking hot chick in the book, but then she's got legs that are like 6 feet long. It's hilarious. And we wind up finding out that Loki is going to work with her, and the big cliffhanger on this is she says, "I hath no interest in the Avengers, save for the young sorceress, she who art my daughter." So basically, Scarlet Witch is the daughter of the Enchantress. Where does that come from? And I don't think that's ever resolved in this series. It's just mentioned here, and it never gets resolved. So that is the end of this book. Yeah, so what did I think of it overall? This book is like information overload. They try to shove this Avenger universe into your face by giving you all the government details, the new base, all the different characters, the supporting cast, the Avengers themselves, this doctor. They just throw at you with like Rob Liefeld's artwork with the muscles popping out into their face, and it's just like, it's insane. It's just like overload, and they just throw all these things out there, and things are bound to get missed because it's just like, I just felt like they just put this issue out there to sell it to the fans and be like, oh my god, it's a new Avengers issue. Oh my god, who's this Hawkeye? Oh my god, why is Thor wearing different clothes? Like, it just didn't work for its time. And you read it today, and it's just a jumbled mess. The paneling is all messed up. It goes from left to right, right to left, and right down and left, and then back up again. It goes in like this circle, and you don't know where you're reading it. It's a freaking mess. This is why only the second time or third time I've ever read this book, because it's a complete disaster. And I gotta give this book a 1 out of 5 stars. Jay, hopefully you enjoyed this video. I want you to tell me in the comment below what you thought of this new Avengers team back in the day. You know, I gotta say that probably back in the day, the artwork fit its time, but it definitely doesn't fit the time now. So, yeah, and any of you other guys read this new Avengers series, let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. And guys, as always, thank you for watching Comic Frontline. Hopefully you enjoyed this installment of Marvelous 90s. And always, don't forget to check out comicfrontline.com. Don't forget to check out our live show each and every Tuesday night. And fans, until that next comic book review, this is Mike Spider Slayer signing out. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Bye.
Oh, I'm Thor! Check out my muscles, they're gigantic! Whoa! Oh, I'm stronger! I'm Captain America! Look at my shield! Look at it, and then look at my muscles! Ah!